What are grounds for divorce in Tennessee? Most divorces don't require grounds. It's a state that allows for no fault divorces, just like most. But in certain circumstances, if you're able to prove adultery or inappropriate marital conduct, you might be able to get a bigger share of the marital pot. Most cases, though, proceed forward on a divorce where people just show that they no longer wish to live together. The caveat to that is in a case where one person doesn't want to get divorced and the other does, unlike other states, you're actually going to have to prove a grounds. The quickest path to that almost always is the irreconcilable differences, because quite frankly, if you don't want to live with somebody and they want to live with you, that's a difference you can't really reconcile. Assets in Tennessee are divided equitably, and in most cases that means more or less equally. However, things like contribution and, whether a person has dissipated, which means spent away recklessly, various marital assets will come into play. This usually doesn't tie into fault within the marriage, although there are some instances, if you're able to prove grounds, where fault will be considered in dividing the assets, but more or less we figure out what you owe and what you own, and then get a close approximation to letting you guys leave with about half of what you have and move on with your life. I get a lot of questions about how exactly a marital estate is divided. Now, I will tell you, I don't know if any of you ever saw the movie Diary of a Mad Black Woman, where Tyler Perry's character came in and took a chainsaw and cut the couch in half and cut the piano in half, and that's not how it works. What we typically do is we put the value of assets onto a spreadsheet. I know, not nearly as exciting as Tyler's version, but we evaluate things and we move things from one side of the spreadsheet to the other to more or less get an equal value at the bottom. And what that means is if you take something that has more value, say the equity in the house, then you're probably going to have to give up something of equal value, say cash in an account. But that's what we like to do is, from a practical standpoint, get everything situated on a spreadsheet and, make the numbers match up probably equally at the bottom. Tennessee has a unique scheme for awarding spousal support, also known as alimony. In Tennessee, you can be awarded alimony that is rehabilitative, alimony in solido, or alimony in futuro. And rehabilitative alimony tends to be that to kind of get somebody, say, to finish school or, finish up, get some job skills training so that they can come off of the alimony. Then there is alimony in solido, which is a lump sum. Oftentimes that's awarded to, say, make up for a difference in attorney's fees or to be able to allow a spouse to buy a new home or something of that nature. Then there's alimony in futuro, which is what we typically think of alimony or spousal support, which is ongoing monthly payments, possibly for a lifetime. But all of these can be awarded either together or separately, which is really unique in Tennessee. In Tennessee, alimony is not always granted, but nor is it rare. It is a common part of how a court sets up a spouse who is not the primary earner, especially if one spouse was a stay-at-home parent and forewent, building a career and just really doesn't have the ability to stand on their own 2 feet, walking out of the marriage in the same way that the higher earner can. So custody in Tennessee usually plays out based on the best interest of the children. But what does that mean? Well, what it essentially means is when you go into court, a judge who has their own, viewpoints and biases is going to decide what works best for kids. In some states, they really are like 50-50 states. Like I also practice law in Colorado, and in Colorado, if there isn't something seriously going on like active drug addiction, courts tend to award almost equal parenting time to both sides. But in Tennessee, especially in, more rural counties, something like smoking pot on the weekend could end up, losing you parenting time. So it's super important to understand the judge, the venue in which you're having your custody case heard. And quite frankly, it's really best if you try to work out what's best for your kids between yourself and your kid's other parent. So again, there's a lot that goes into a divorce, from, the property, alimony, parenting time. If you have any questions, give us a call and we'll be happy to be your guide out of this dark time.